Good morning, my name is Alina Joes. According to the National Center of Educational Statistics, there are almost 50.7 million students that attend public schools as of fall 2018. These public school institutions serve as a sanctuary for students and also as an opportunity to a successful future. Just as any other U.S. citizen, students are also entitled to the rights mentioned under the First Amendment, which are the freedom of speech, press, religion, petition, and assembly. However, through limitations placed on the freedom of speech, press, and through the action of censorship, limitations of students' rights can be visibly seen. And through specific examples like court cases and other incidences, the limitations of students' rights can be seen and thus help answering the question, how are limitations of students' rights an illustration of the First Amendment in U.S. public schools? An essential part of the First Amendment is the freedom of press, which according to the U.S. Constitution allows an individual to express themselves through publication or dissemination, whether it be vocalized, written, or shared electronically. A specific example in which the freedom of press was limited to students can be seen in the Rockville High School in Vernon, Connecticut. In this situation, a student had written an editorial journal in which they were endorsing a Democratic candidate for the mayoral election. However, when the Republic Committee complained, they forced the school to remove the student's journal, and also the school prevented future editorials like such. This is an important situation because the actions of the students were neither violent nor disruptive. However, their rights to the access of freedom of press were still limited. Now that we've talked about the freedom of press, let's discuss the freedom of speech. According to the U.S. Constitution, the freedom of speech allows individuals to express themselves without government interference or regulation. Generally, an individual cannot be held to criminal or civil charges if they discuss or talk or write about an individual or topic, as long as they do so with truthful facts or honest opinion. One form of speech is nonverbal speech. As we see in this image right here, oftentimes actions can speak louder than words. A specific example in which the freedom of speech was limited to students is in the court case Tinker versus Des Moines. In this court case, two students had worn black armbands as portrayed in this image here in protest of the Vietnam War in their schools. According to refusal to the school's rule of taking off these armbands, the students were suspended and the parents took this issue to court. Initially, the district court sided with the school, saying that the decision was for disciplinary reasons. However, eventually, the decision was made that the school's choice to suspend the students was unconstitutional because the students' actions of wearing these black armbands were not violent or disruptive. Both the freedoms to speak and to publish have been generally known to protect individuals from governmental attempts to suppress or hide information through the censorship of books, articles, or journals. This specific limitation of the First Amendment can be seen in schools, within classrooms, and the library, as seen in this image here, through the censorship of internet access. Some say that censorship is often done through higher-up authorities like school officials or government, as seen in this image here, to prevent the access to harmful stimuli, which can affect both students and their educational environment. However, students most likely have unfiltered internet access on their personal devices, thus the overall goal of censorship would not be fulfilled. Furthermore, as students are humans and also U.S. citizens, preventing the access to information, especially in an educational environment, would be going against the basic freedoms of speech and press mentioned under the First Amendment. On the contrary, many school officials and representatives argue that schools do not exhibit any limitations of the First Amendment to their students. These arguments are mainly seen in relation to the freedom of religion, which according to the U.S. Constitution prohibits the government in most instances from interfering with a person's practice of their religion. As a result, the 3 R's program is being instituted in public schools across the country. This program allows for a safe environment in which students can express their religious freedoms. This program states that students must protect the religious freedoms and faiths of all students, even those without a faith. Additionally, parents have the primary responsibility to educate their children in regards to their religion, and that any public debate regarding such topics must be done with respect. Therefore, as seen in this image, schools say that they will be able to regulate both religion and education to make sure that they are both expressed at an equal state without having one empowering the other. However, as the world is not a perfect scenario, there are many, many instances in which the freedom of religion was not granted to students. Students are entitled to all the freedoms under the First Amendment and not just some. And so, providing some freedoms like the freedom of religion, but placing heavy limitations on others like speech and press can be seen as hypocritical to a sense when looking at the First Amendment. This image right here is a visual representation of my previous statement, in which giving some rights but not others is a false promise. Some say that a possible solution to this would be more specific wording in the rules, regulations, or other code of conduct, as mentioned by schools. However, as the environment in schools are often changing, it would be illogical to frequently change the rules placed. Therefore, that previous solution would be illogical. A better solution and a logical solution would be to create a group of students, parents, teachers, lay people, and individuals from the Board of Education to help regulate and control students so that they will have equal voices and thus help regulate the extent to which students can freely express their rights in relation to the freedom of speech, press, petition, assembly, and religion. What questions may you have? Thank you.
I do have two questions for you. First one, how valid and reliable are the sources that you use, and then how do you know?
The sources that I used, for example, the U.S. Constitution and the Tinker versus Des Moines article, they were both presented to us in the stimulus that was given to us ahead of time, and also the article regarding the 3 R's program or the Rockville school incident. Those are both from academic journals from the Academic One file. They were both peer-reviewed, and so they were really reliable and had lots of evidence which could support my claims and argument.
If you had more time, what additional research would you conduct?
As seen in my argument previously, I went through the freedoms of speech, press, and religion, and I had mostly specific examples for all of them. However, I wished if I had more time that I could find specific court cases or incidences that I could relate to the freedom of assembly or petition to show the overall picture of the First Amendment and how limitations to those specific aspects are seen in public schools.
You're done. Thank you.